All right, and we're live. So, welcome everyone to the podcast for today. Today, my guest is Filipino animator Willie Blue Bussell.
All right,
He's
and we're live. So,
he's
welcome everyone.
been an animator for about 30 years, and I think this conversation can be really interesting because we're going to get to talk about uh, the nature of utilizing Southeast Asian countries for subcontracting in Western and Japanese animation. So welcome, Willie.
Hi everyone at Tonari and everyone at YouTube and those fans there. Good day to all. Mosh mosh.
So, a good place I think for us to start, if you wanted to talk a bit about kind of your background, uh, what your career's been like so far.
Well, during the plague it was like topsy-turvy.
Oh, this past year.
Like everyone is. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was topsy-turvy. On and off. Like 6 jobs on and off. Like 5 of those companies closed down because they can't get the work to be done.
Mm.
And then one company was there, but the Japanese company that was their supposed to be their partner didn't push through with the partnership because there was only few of us that passed the exam, like only 2 out of like 15 people.
Yeah, a lot of productions paused production for a while.
Post productions here.
Like didn't for the pandemic.
Oh,
So I'm sure that's what kind of affected that.
I did like the Conte work for another studio, and then animation work, and then some animation in another studio and another. But those studios got closed because of the pandemic and the restrictions and everything. So it's pretty hard on online before then, until now actually here.
Mm-hmm. So something that I think the viewers will be really interested in learning about, that I think you have a lot of knowledge on, is kind of how the Philippines played a role in the growth of Western and Japanese animation. Uh, at, if you guys ever watched animation credits, if you get to like kind of the very end, you'll always see these like studio names that you've probably never heard of. And they'll just block in like 5 different studios at the end under like Doga, Paint, sometimes like cleanup animation and stuff like that. And most of the time, it's studios in the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, I think South Korea as well. And there's studios all over these regions with dozens of employees, I'd say, that are
Not
doing
all,
all
not only dozens, hundreds.
hundreds. Yeah,
Yes.
it's something and none of them get credit. They just get credited under the studio name.
Yes,
Um,
actually, that's true here. Also, it happens here because I don't know what physical contracts they're signing off, but when you look at their websites, the show's there. They claim the show that's being done there, but the people that are working there are non-credited.
mm,
Either for possibility for piracy reasons, maybe overseas studios might pirate them, or it may come to inter-studio piracy also, which happens most of the time also.
what do you mean by
Unlike in
inter-studio
Japan,
piracy?
that there's a giveaway for artists to borrow. There's no such thing here in the Philippines as borrow animators for a production that's in deadline. There's no such kind of cooperation here. It's
Mm,
each for their own studio. You have to train your own guys, you have to maintain your own guys, and you have to like pay your own guys. If you're the bigger studios, you hold them all together in one big pot. But if you're the medium and the smaller ones, you get less. You get fragile most of the time.
um,
So most of the time they are not credited because it's like sometimes the contract is like tax credit contract, something like that, through a studio overseas from another country to another, and
mm,
then it's funneled here. So they cannot name the Philippines as the one that did the job. It would be done in that country supposed to be. So something like that. So many European countries have tax credit. America has,
Mm.
and also the other countries has. So we can't name specifics for this
Yeah.
one, but it happens.
What is it? What is it like for the artist there? Because uh, it
I've
makes me wonder
interviewed several
what the motivation is to get into the anime industry over there. If you're mostly just going to be
anime
doing subcontracting.
anime industry here is a very highly specialized in the Western. You have to be more rock solid, rock harder
Mm.
than the Western to just to get in. Then at the same time, you have to have solid drawing skills just to get in. It's not about blabbing your mouth. It's about what you really have in your hand that draws out.
Mm-hmm.
So for the anime industry, it's really really strict. But for the Western, sometimes it's okay with blab and everything, and then just get down with the scene and everything like that. Sometimes, not
Yeah.
all the time.
So
But
I assume that
yes,
the anime is popular there, and that's probably why
it is it
people want to
is,
get
it
into it
is.
because it seems like a
It,
fun kind of career.
yes, most people try to hunt for anime employment, but
Mm.
end up winding in the Western, and then some others find themselves in anime studios like smaller ones,
Mm-hmm.
but have what do you call this a bad experience out of it because it within a small studio you have to multitask, and you know what happens when you multitask. You
Mm-hmm.
just like do longer hours than normal, like 16 hours, 24 hours, and so on and so forth. And some were like a war shocked
Yeah.
artists. We call them war shock artists. So they complain, they have this and that happen to them. And I hear interviews both from Western and Eastern. Some are not credited for their work. They did so much work, and they did like tons of work.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not naming names here just to clear everything off the hook.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it happens here. It happens here.
Yeah. One thing that you told me. So recently you started working with Tonari, and you
Yes,
told me that the credit that you got on what was it, Digimon or
it's the
Boruto?
very first.
That was
Yes,
your
it's the
first
very
named
first.
credit in your entire career.
First public. My God,
Yeah,
believe me.
that's mind blowing to me.
Yes, yeah, me too. Like no one has
It's a
that
simple
in the
thing.
Philippines. Yes, no one has that in the Philippines, and I'm so lucky here. So like to you guys, it's normal there to have name credits, but here, like wow, it's like woo, way over
Yeah.
the top.
Yeah, like my first anime job that I ever did, I had a named credit. So,
Oh
yeah. So,
yeah, it happens.
yeah, so something I'm kind of like I remember like reading through your work history, and there's like tons of stuff from like all over the place that you're
Yeah.
working on. It's not just anime. It wasn't just like it looked like it was mostly Western animation, but they were
Yes.
using like kind of more the traditional frame by frame
It,
animation.
yes. Yes. It was paper then until like 1998, 99, when toys switched to Retas,
Mm-hmm.
and then
And then
similarly, the Western world introduced a harmony. I think
oh, Toon
it was
Boom.
never Toon Boom. There was
Oh,
never Toon Boom before. It was harmony.
mm.
So it was like that. There were several softwares before that, but I lost count because there's so many, so many upgrades in so little time.
So
Uh,
did you learn the Redis software like when it was originally like switching over in the late '90s or
no, 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 no. Just later, just like 3, 5 years ago.
really?
Yes, too late for me, but still, I caught up. I caught up.
Did you
So
like the transition from paper to uh, Redis?
actually, it didn't hit me a bit. Before I was like cumbersome, like
Mm-hmm.
out of sync. But it sync later. Like it's better to draw here, although you're using up electricity and all that, and you have to worry about backup systems, electricity backup
Yeah.
systems, internet backup systems, because not all not all in the Philippines is fail safe with electricity and internet. So sometimes there's conks here and around there. So especially with individual accounts. So unlike the business ones, which are more heavily guarded, this one's like tend to be like last time a truck hit our line, so I was out for like 3 days.
Oh yeah.
That was a big thing. So I was in a deadline. I had to go to my sister to get the works submitted there instead of my own line here. So it's like tedious.
Yeah. Here I don't really ever have problems with power unless there's just a big storm or something.
Yeah, you guys are nuclear
Yeah.
there. So no problem about electricity and internet actually. It's zero. Actually, it's not envy, but it's respect. You guys really evolve a lot there. We're still here.
So
Respects.
I know it's like becoming a growing story lately about the low pay in the anime industry, and
Well, I heard like it's the same rate. I don't know right now because I haven't been around, but like it's like still the same rate as in like 10 years back.
oh really?
And right now actually the new transition period about the digital remove the in between department. Actually it is like almost zero in between departments and painting departments here. There are no painters here in the Philippines anymore.
Like for backgrounds, or do you mean
Z-
for coloring cells?
Coloring cells.
Really?
Yes, it's zero, almost zero. They like chopped that off in 1998, I think 99.
So is the focus now in the Philippines mostly in between drawing, like doga or
Doga,
cleanup?
Doga and cleanup is like okay. I'll give you a hint about the industry. Like 50% of the newbies here don't know how to draw on paper.
Mm-hmm.
They know Flash, they know rigging and all of that in Toon Boom, but try them to animate or draw on paper, it's like wow, squat.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem with our industry. If the trend changes back to traditional again, or actually we're having that problem. Actually, we were nervous back at my own with my partner before in the training center because there's no backup system for the local industry if we're going to start anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big problem. You don't have cleanup IB and paint. And the cheapest right now is cleanup IB and paint.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Flash and it's cheap to animate in Flash and also on the rig Toon Boom thingy. But if you were a producer and would like to save more, it's like you'd go for the traditional artworks with value.
Do you know do you know what the like average rate right now uh per sheet it is to do cleanup work over there?
Actually, before I checked, like before it's like going for 28 pesos. Now I heard it's like 50 pesos because of the pandemic and work at home thingy.
Let's see, how much is 50
So,
pesos in US?
wait. I think that's around
It's a dollar.
yeah,
About a dollar.
roughly.
So it used to be 50 cents,
Yes. Yes.
and then now
The
it's
funny
around a
thing
dollar.
is the funny thing is the paint is 8 pesos still here.
8 pesos.
Yes,
Wow.
for some studios if there's paint. I
Yeah.
think went
What's
to 12, there's a time system. Could be 12 or 15 or 20, but still it's still low
yeah,
compared to US union rates, which you said before, which is
like
way
we yeah.
yeah.
But luckily the
So
this is something I think the industry in the Philippines is going to keep the anime industry is going to keep growing there because uh, even the Japanese rates that are considered low are actually somewhat reasonable for the cost of living in the Philippines.
Actually, yes. Actually, the Japanese animation industry has only one vacation, so work continually flows for a year. Unlike in the Western, we get spurts and starts. Like we get off seasons
Hmm.
and unemployment, like for 3 months or 2 months or a week or two, depends on what studio it is. So it's really random,
Yeah,
and that's the most stressing part for most people here in the local. So aside from being evaluated every day by your employer, you get that nagging feeling behind your head,
that eventually.
or
Yeah,
that eventually there's no more work later, and then the studio will get more work, but the time allowed to get more work would be like depends from weeks to months, so it
yeah,
depends.
and that causes a lot of studios to just appear and disappear constantly,
Yes,
right? So everyone's
yes,
moving around all over the place. I think every Filipino that's applied for Tonari Animation had a really long resume with like a lot of different studios, different projects.
yes,
It doesn't seem like there's really
true,
one consistent place that everyone's coming in and out of.
true, true. So the point is, we're juggling a lot among studios. I tried freelancing for 3 studios before. Like wow,
Hmm.
it's happened before. Like we were so short of 2D animators per paper. I had to freelance job three studios before it happened, but no one knows.
Yeah, it
One
seems
was a movie. One was a movie.
it seems like nowadays for animators in the Philippines, it's better to just try to work freelance and build up a social media, and you can get
Yeah,
paid
it's
more, and you get opportunities to
yes,
do
yes.
layout, you get credit.
And
Uh,
you can get hired overseas also at the same time. So unlike if you're employed in the local, you just go there, around there, going around there. So it depends now. Things are changing in the industry,
yeah.
and I hope for the better also at the same time.
How how are people in the Philippines learning how to make 2D animation? Because uh, as far as like the rest of the English speaking world goes, uh, there's really nowhere to learn other than just like maybe this YouTube channel and like some other like, smaller exceptions. I think from what I understand, there's actually studios there that are doing some small trainings. And maybe there's some schools that are still teaching it
Oh,
over there.
like several years back, way back in 2010, a government agency here started helping studios uh, to train people. It's a vocational school. So we train cleanup and IB. Accepting the paint, there's no curriculum for paint because it's non-existent. But cleanup IB, animator, and illustration for comics is trainable.
Hmm.
So the others go there. Well, let's say 50% of the guys go there, and then some of the studios have their own training in house. So from the applicants, they pick the ones that are the best ones with a draw, which draw best, and then include them in the training, and then hire them afterwards. So it's like internal studio, and then there's this government aided funded training program.
How does how does like the pay differ? Like if you want to be if you're Filipino and you want to be an animator, how does that career or like uh, job path differ in pay from like some other career path? Like if you wanted to be graphic designer or some other creative position, is it the same?
I,
Like in Japan, it's considered like a low paying. You know, it's worse than being a like a burger flipper at McDonald's
no, no,
to
no, no.
animate in Japan.
Actually, if you animate here in the Western, it's bigger price,
Oh,
frankly.
really?
But it depends on how much you can do and how easy you can overcome the retakes that they can throw at you. For once, I experienced like 18 retakes for one take for one cut, equivalent to your cut. 18 retakes, which took me like 3 weeks to do. So the pay was high, and it covered the 3 weeks actually. So it's fair, but the quality was like, wow. I didn't know there was this kind of shows existing. So, and then there was
Mm-hmm.
this set of freelance I did for other studios that paid well also, and there was this a lower studio that offered me this much, but I had to do 100 feet a week. It's like I don't know how many
That's 10
feet of,
seconds.
yes,
Yeah.
10 seconds every week. For 5 6 weeks I did that uninterrupted. Like I had Sunday off, but I couldn't even recognize myself. I just have to sleep off.
Mm-hmm.
I have good money, but I can't use it because I'm just too tired. It
Yeah.
happened, so that
Yeah.
was before. With the digital, it's highly different. Like uh, it's a different ball game actually. So there's more stability because before we had off models so much in the calls locally. But when they fixed the rigging for the animation in Toon Boom, the calls were more on the movement side
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So it's easier to fix.
Do you think? Do you
In the
think?
Japanese,
Oh.
the Western locals here were late to adapt the Japanese system into their system because of the 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be there were already model checkers. They could be KA checkers. To Sakuga.
Yeah.
There were no KA2s yet, but there were yellow sheet checkers.
Yeah.
So it was getting there. And then 9/11 hit and all hell break loose and those departments disappeared.
Hmm.
It was getting there. The industry was getting there, but they lost it there at 9/11. So in
What is the relation of 9/11 to? How does that affect the
Disney
Philippines?
closed down. If you notice, Disney closed down. Disney Vancouver, Florida closed for a week. Vancouver closed immediately. Disney Philippines closed immediately. Or the affiliate studio here, like several 700, 800 people went out of work.
Are you talking about like when they closed the travel down?
No, 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 that's not the pandemic. It's the 9/11
Yeah. Yeah.
terrorist attack.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
what
yes.
you're saying? So that they closed it down because,
The
uh,
stocks were gone.
oh, like the economy was collapsing and
Yes. There was no
wow.
payment. So during that time, India was into the India's government was into that system I was telling you about, like lease back, government sale and lease back.
Hmm.
So much of the shows from the U.S. and Europe went there and then were brought back here, but to a deferred price. I
Yeah.
traced all the, I traced all of this in my research, so I learned that.
So
So
when you said Disney closed down, are you talking about like did Disney have an office in the Philippines that closed down or?
yes, there was, but it was in a different title.
Hmm.
But it was an official Disney studio.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of Disney animators here and Warner Brothers animators
Yeah, it's
that
really
people
surprising.
don't know about.
Yeah, because
Yes,
people are always like,
right.
"Oh, this is an American animation made by Americans," but a lot of the heavy lifting's done by people
Yeah,
overseas.
down
Yeah.
here, yeah. So there are so many top caliber animators here in the Western for like Hanna Barbera, Warner Brothers, Disney. You can name it. Even Nelvana, they work there. They work back and forth. They went overseas to train or had more experience and then come back here. So there's top caliber artists here.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
this is something that nobody even really realizes. for some reason, and
No,
I
no,
think it's just
no.
because they're always that one small credit line, like
Yes,
that's
true.
representing 100 people.
Yes.
Um,
Even the directors are not credited also actually, which is sad because they put so much amount of work and so much stress into their work because like you have to be a people person to be a director. So
yeah,
it's like part you're like a two-faced animal working looking at east and west, looking at the people, the animators, and looking at the management and the flow of the show to finish on time. So it's like you're a two-faced creature. So it's hard for those directors here to just finish
yeah,
the job and then have no credit also at the same time.
yeah. It's
So
hard
it's
to
like,
build a career like that because you're just based on. I don't know. It's almost
yes,
like
eh,
they're being kind of used in a
not
way.
so, but when push comes to shove, we have no evidence to show that you did this.
Yeah,
So accepting by meritorious comment by others that you were the one that
yeah,
working on it as witnesses.
yeah,
Yes, but how far can that go for studios overseas and everything? So
yeah.
it's like by merit of conversation thingy. Like this guy work on this, so it depends. It depends.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. I think it's starting to change though, because I think it was so Tonari. We started right at the beginning of the pandemic, and
Yeah,
suddenly there was like a lot more work for overseas animators from Japan, and I think it's because
yeah, and that
it forced all of them, all the studios, to start being okay with using the internet for
yeah they
communication and
slowly
stuff.
open the doors. They slowly open the doors. It's a good blessing also at the same time because you know what we also what I actually wanted to do was like animate also in the Japanese genre again.
Yeah.
I left off as a doga artist, paint doga artist, and came back animator.
Mm.
So
Before joining Tonari, did you what was the last like Japanese production that you remember working on?
oh, that was way back like 1990s.
Oh wow. So you've been Western fully since then?
Yes, but still I have retentive memory. I have
Yeah.
photographic memory,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's good.
I
So it was
remember
like
even
natural to get back in.
yeah, even Gose I remember.
Yeah.
So it was really like up and down times, but it was fun.
Mhm.
Even the deadline, I like the deadlines here in the Japanese because it's like kicking your adrenaline up high.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that
It's
too.
like it's like you're being chased by the devil and everything,
Yeah.
and just you just have to finish everything on time and like submit it.
Yeah. I like that too. Like I'm really
Yeah,
big on procrastination, so if the deadlines aren't tough, then I'll still put it off till like the last second and then have to rush it
yeah,
out.
yeah. Well, it's like this is the part of the animation I like. Like,
Mhm.
and then you get it in on time, and everything's okay, and then they're all like laughing or sobbing there in happiness, the Japanese, and they're like, it's really cool actually. So it's nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are trying to get away from the Western industry, even though it pays way better, just because
It's
the Japanese productions are a little more
stable.
yeah well stable. Yeah, that's one thing.
Western Western pays better, but it's a bit erratic.
Yeah, the stability argument is like one that I hear. I think mainly from like Philippines and Malaysia, because I think they experience what you're talking about with the off and on
Yes, true.
schedules.
Yes,
Um,
true. Most people locally don't know it, but the Japanese industry is more stable at delivering work,
yeah,
giving
because
work,
they
handing
do
out work,
the quarterly
getting work.
seasons. So
Yes.
there's always something new. We still have
Yes.
some gaps, but it's like a month or so.
Mm.
Because a lot of productions are stopping and starting at the same time, and if you're only a like key animator, then you're gonna have probably some gaps because they're gonna have all the like they do all their assignments for the entire production around the same time.
That's why I'm ask That's why I mastered everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to learn
So I
everything because then you
wouldn't
can,
be.
yeah, after all
Yeah.
the productions are out of Ginga, you can do Doga on everything. So
Oh,
yeah.
here's a funny thing about our industry. If you're an animator here and they catch you doing cleanup IB, they would think otherwise, like you were demoted or
Oh,
something
really?
like that. Yes,
I don't know. I think I'm
it
always gonna
happens.
do in betweens.
Well, well, frankly, I've never seen a director go down to clean up IB just to help them
Yeah,
here. It never happened. I've
yeah.
never seen one yet.
I mean,
But
if I'd rather like for me, if I was in that position, I don't want to wait around, so I would just help everywhere.
yeah, but
Um,
but but in our case in Adarna, when we did the Adarna thing, we were a small group, so it's multitasking. Even the director helped somehow with cleanup IB, paint. We were doing acetates then. We were shooting on an Oxberry camera, 1.5 floors tall. It's a multiplane camera. It's a big one.
oh wow.
It's a big hunk of metal,
Mm-hmm.
like several feet across and several feet wide, and it's made of metal. And you just have to roll your. There's rollers. You have to roll them just to make the pan, and then open the platen to get the cells out, and then put the new cells in. Everything. It's all manual.
Yeah, yeah. That's
So it was tedious. You have to check the light meter and everything just to get the normal color for the acetates and the BG. You can't go over 3 acetates because it might yellow
mm,
out. So all those rules are in there. Unlike in digital, it's unlimited. Like you
yeah,
can have 100 levels and everything, but it won't
yeah.
yellow out.
Yeah,
So
what one thing that's cool though about the Japanese pipeline, I feel like those they kind of kept
oh,
those
when I
old
saw
school
KE2,
like the multiplaning and like they're kind of treating it
oh
like it's a physical shooting with all the
yeah,
notations and stuff.
yeah. I saw the Japanese notations now. It's like wow, it's like more complex than the Western types because you
Yeah.
have diagonal pans, straight pans, and vertical pans. There may be special follow-through pans, but that was done in Roger Rabbit with multiplanes. But
Mm-hmm.
that was once only. But regularly you just have diagonal pans, track up, track down, and normal pans, right, left, and then vertical pans. That's all in the West.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the effects, filters, like normal, normal. But in the Japanese, I saw the memory pan. Whoa.
Yeah. You can just go
Yeah,
everywhere and
that's
anywhere.
that's yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like the floating peg system. I just always explain to them. The Japanese use a flatbed. During the traditional Japanese, the peg bar in the flatbed of the animation camera, it's a seki. The Japanese counterpart of the Oxberry is the seki. It's like one floor tall, smaller. The Western has a 35 millimeter. The Seiki Japanese camera has 16 millimeter. That's why they were so
Mm.
meticulous with the cells. 16 millimeter is so precise in shooting. You can't have a speck anything because it will. You can see that clearly inside a 16 millimeter camera. When you blow it up to like 35 millimeter,
Mm-hmm.
you can see the small dots and specks. So they are so clean. The Japanese were so clean when using 60 millimeter cameras. And the flatbed, when I saw it, was like three brackets, and the peg bar they just put anywhere.
Yeah,
There's three brackets. Yeah.
back in those days, I feel like it would have been a lot more expensive to get a studio up and running because you have to have all the
Oh yes.
physical equipment.
You know how much the Kodak acetate cost before? Like let's say like for 51 rim of Kodak acetate, the one they use for the cells,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 2,500 pesos now. That's for one rim, and that's 500 sheets only.
Yeah.
How many sheets will you eat up when you do a production like a
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah. A lot.
and then maybe a series? Well, in the case of the acetates for the Japanese, I think it was Fuji or what's the other brand? Mitsubishi. I think they're
Nowadays
using the
their
yes.
anime is trying to imitate the look of cells again. Like they're trying to like get
Actually,
filters and stuff to make it look like it's a painted cell.
actually, that was their fetish.
Yeah.
Like, like it started with Miyazaki before, and everyone was blown away with uh Warriors of the Wind, which was heavily edited. That's why Miyazaki clumped up back to the Japan. So they had to re-release with Disney everything later, unedited. There was a story there. So it's okay. That was in the old days in the 80s. So
hmm
uh
So
this thing like
Warriors of the Wind. What is like? I'm looking that up and it's looking like it's like some sort of
Nausicaa.
Nausicaa. It's exactly
Nausicaa.
Nausicaa.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Nausicaa.
Just
So that was his first film, and I actually was actually stepping there on his actually putting myself in his shoes, starting comics because Nausicaa started as a comics and became a
hmm
great hit.
yeah,
That's why a publisher uh, helped him produce it for a movie.
yeah,
I don't remember the name. Kodansha, I think. Kodansha, I have no idea. And then until it became Studio Ghibli.
yeah. Hey,
But my most favorite show of all, which can't be tarnished away, is Lapita.
Lapita. Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Even with the new shows, well, maybe second is Porco Rosso.
Yeah, I've only seen that once. But
Yeah.
actually, today
It's
was
kind of Frenchy.
watching
It's
some.
kind of Frenchy, dragging. It's a kind of Frenchy movie. So
Yeah.
it's like they're long shots, European style. So
We got a question for you on chat. From Kuya.
mhm.
They're wondering if you got to work with Nilo Santillan, in back in Strata in Ortigas.
No,
Do you
no,
know who
no.
that
That
is?
was like that was the predecessor of Phil cartoons before. I'm not that old. That was like wait, I don't know what studio it was, but that was the predecessor of Phil cartoons before it went to Show Boulevard. Oh, they did Hanna-Barbera shows actually,
Hmm.
and tons of like wow, wacky races. What a cartoon shows was done here. Most of the series, and then there's tons actually. Johnny Quest, the movie was done here. There's lots actually. Most notable films.
So when you were like first wanting to get into animation, what was the thing that made you want to get into it? Like, why did you do animation instead of any other career?
I was actually already what they call this prepped up by what I read before about Walt Disney in a book from a library I borrowed it from. And then I saw several Japanese shows that I don't know the titles now, and I was like all crazy over it. And then I found the studio through a friend who was in school, and uh, he told me where to go, and I applied and got in.
Hmm.
And I was like all crazy. It was like during that time, Gundam 0083 Stardust Memory was being produced in Japan. So
Hmm.
that type of of 2D animation, even with the shading and all that, was like wow, it blew my mind already.
Hmm.
So I was like wow into it, uh, very very much.
So you wanted to work on like, did you want to work on specific types of shows or just on
Mm,
anything?
based on the Western, I'd rather work on any type so I could broaden my skill sets
Hmm.
than work on a specific show, which would narrow down my skill sets. because I could do in the Western, I could do basically cartoony to wild animation, like almost, but not up to Tex Avery a bit, and then realistic, but not Disney realistic. Just getting there, but I stopped because it was uh the crazy thing about X sheets in Disney is that they number it in the odds,
In the odds.
odd numbers, odd numbers only, and you have to animate them in twos. You have to
So you're
put
like
all
one
numbers.
three 1357.
Yes, yes,
Huh.
yes. So if they go singles, it's a whole number one, two, three, four, five, six.
Yeah.
But in the Western, it so happens like it's one, two, three. But if you have to go to singles, it's one A, two A, three A, something like that. So
Yeah, I
it's a
think
different.
I think Western productions have almost completely gotten rid of timing sheets.
They have timelines also
Yeah.
in their software. So yeah,
So it'll just stays inside of Toon Boom probably.
yeah, yes, that's it. There's the one that sets up the scenes, and he times them out, or maybe the layout only, and then the animator times out the scenes later. But mainly it's the post day timeout, and then the truck in cameras for the setup, and then the animator works on it, puts the individual timing later on for the drawings he makes or she makes. So it's basically the same with uh, Japanese system when you fill in your timesheet, but different on the numbers depending on the studio and also on the checking. Like we got second key, and we're still manual with draw, but they transition to rigging and all that, so it's like more on puppet animating the
Yeah.
parts. So
Do you think that the people like the number of people that can do hand drawn animation is like going down because of
oh,
that or
drastically,
drastically?
drastically. We're so few in number, like we're just 40-30% right now from all the hires right now, and then roughly several handful that could do good storyboards also at the same time.
Yeah, is
Just a
that what
handful.
you mentioned you were wanting to set up some training
Oh,
out there.
we did. We did
Oh,
already.
you did?
We did several, and actually when I started the training venture, I overshoot the requirement of the studio because you have to overshoot the requirements of the local studios, otherwise they wouldn't be hired.
Yeah.
So when they saw portfolios, they got hired quickly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had zero backlogs, like students unemployed. So it was a good track record for a time.
Yeah, I
And
wonder what
right now, that's
happened. I wonder what happened to everyone that used to be working on the 2D stuff. Like, would you say like
well,
other
I
people that have been there like as long as you have that are still around, or did they all just move on to different careers?
so there's three ways they went. They resigned and then took another uh type skill set job. They transition. The second is they transition to digital and adapted. The third is hanging in the middle, doing the same thing on both ways.
Hmm. Yeah. So just
So
learning Japanese and Western.
yes,
Yeah. That would be where you landed, right?
yeah,
Or mostly. Well, you actually
actually yes,
mostly Western is
mostly
where you
Western,
landed.
but I always train. So as a teacher, you have to train your minor skill set. Sorry, it's like BS major in English, minor in history. So you have to teach history. I major in I'm a major in Western, minor in
Oh
Japanese.
yeah.
So I have to teach Japanese. So
Mm-hmm.
in my studio, I teach Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Even my except for the notations, they know how to translate the X sheet into numbers. Camera work, not so, but they can do the IB, the cleanup IB, and the breakdowns and the gosei's and everything. The gosei isn't available in the Western.
Yeah.
It's cut and paste in the paper tradition form. You cut and paste. Xerox it, cut and paste.
Really? Okay.
Yes, yes. But
How do you do that digitally though? You just copy and paste it?
yes, it's roughly now the same as Gose
Yeah.
in the Japanese. Yeah. You outline the one that's not moving, and then with the one moving you just paste it over the one that's not moving. Mother cell. So it's roughly the same right now
Mm-hmm.
with the Gose and their cut and paste thingy for the 2D, but most are like in the riggings and Flash. So you have to learn like three softwares here in the Western, like Flash, rigging, and then traditional. So you could have a steady job offer, which is a bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, I'd rather like draw manually again, like in the present right now.
Yeah.
With
Um.
just one software.
Yeah, that's why I like Clip Studio because it seems like we can do pretty much everything in
Yeah,
Clip Studio.
actually, I am amazed with the software. It's way above Redis. So like even with I told you about a while ago, the hex codes on the colors is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's really nice, and so far, uh, things are evolving good at at the locals here, but we're just missing the credit thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
wonder
far,
what do you think would change that?
mm, so far, yeah, the local IP system have been lecturing about copyrights and everything. So maybe later the studios would include, depending on what contracts they sign with a broker there overseas. So,
What's
but if it's it depends if it's a second party like India or a first party like the US. So it depends.
Yeah, I wonder if it's
Depends.
just a matter of studios asking if they can get named credits because like for Tonari Animation, like we've gotten studio credits in the past and we've gotten named credits.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I
only
think
time the only time that we got a studio credit was when we didn't send a credit list. Then they would just put in Tonari Animation. Or I guess there was a few instances where they just credited the studio even though we sent it. And maybe it's because they didn't have enough space on the credits uh,
hmm
roll.
there wasn't too much space for the credit roll.
Yeah, because a
So
lot of times we end up with a lot of names.
yeah, in this case, our locals here were so used to it, like they didn't notice it or like it's okay,
Yeah,
something like that. So, but
it's
still,
it's
it's needed,
surprising to
right?
me that it's like, at least from my perspective, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I've had like other animators like at Tonari, if there's a mistake made and they don't get credited, they're really upset
Yeah,
because they
I've
want to
seen those messages.
yeah, they want to show their friends and they want to show like their family or whatever
Yeah,
that they did something, they participated in something
great.
really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
that's why I was kind of wondering what like the motivation is over there. Like if there's not that I guess prestige motivation, is it just
Oh,
it?
there are good animators here. There are good in betweeners and everything. Problem is the credit system is like new to them. We're discussing it now, right now. They'll be just gawking about it here.
Yeah,
So it's like, why didn't we think of that
yeah,
before? So it's like
yeah.
even the studios would want their like heads, like the HR and general manager credited also, something like that.
Hmm.
Supposed to be credited also at the same time with the artist, so they can see that it's a whole box of teamwork. So I think maybe with this conversation we're having, there might be a change if this um web chat peters down to them. Maybe the
Hmm.
studios will also ask for that, ask for permission, and maybe later they would like roll out the credits for people.
Yeah.
Well, otherwise, if you're an animator working for three studios secretly, so that would be nonsense.
Yeah.
Like you don't want the other studio to know that you're working for this other studio and the third. So you have to like lie down a bit and not
Mm.
credit yourself. So because if they see it on the credits, like, oh, you're working on this one. Remember, here in the Philippines, there's no such thing as Japanese cooperation, like lending artists and borrowing artists for a deadline. It doesn't happen that way here.
Mm. So it's only like
So
long-term
it's like a herd
contracts.
thing. I give you a contract, you work for me, you, you're married to me, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what do you call this? You can't go anywhere else. You're
Yeah.
with them always.
I think
So
my view on this is that
it
I think it's better to just make the animators want to be there instead of forcing them
mhm.
to be there.
Or maybe adopt the Japanese system of borrowing, and
Yeah.
so each one thrives, survives instead
Yeah,
of
it's
competition.
like a collective effort with Japanese
Yes,
studios more so.
yes,
And they're
yes.
still competing with each other, but they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
like they're
With the
helping each
art and
other
the output.
compete with each other.
Yeah, something like that. But it still benefits them at great lengths for both ways, not one way.
Yeah. Yeah, like the fact that like, Tonari Animation's gotten to work on so many different animes has boosted our
Well, Boruto was a big
reputation like massively.
Boruto. Boruto is a big show. So
Yeah, and we did a lot of
it's a
stuff on
good.
there. So
Yeah, yeah, true. And it's like my brother and sister like jumping their heads off when they saw the credits and like
yeah,
I'm here. And then they're asking, how come the others are? It's different story.
yeah, yeah.
So
There's
something
a
like that.
the at least with Tonari Animation, I think it's got word's gotten out about this studio, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Filipino animators want to come work with Tonari.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I
There's a
think it's
lot out there.
yeah,
There's a lot of talent, and actually there's a lot of open-minded talent there that want to try it out.
yeah. It
But it
makes
depends also in the stability, which they will find also better because in the long run the pay is not this much, but it's stable. So whichever you get this much, but it's not stable, or this one. So I think I'd rather choose this one because it's
mm,
longer and stable because
yeah,
I'll earn this much every
mm-hmm,
day and every like in the Western I had like a 3 month leave because I didn't have work and had to hunt and still no work. I was vacant for 3 months. It happened that way.
well,
Yeah. And it's like
this
all hell.
this situation kind of makes me wonder why more Japanese studios aren't trying to go into the Philippines.
That's also a big question to me because we have only one here, a big one.
Yeah,
And
Toei's got a branch there, right?
yes, yes. It's a main branch. It's got so many animators and well respected actually in the industry. And there are two small studios in the province, but they operate mainly in like teams of 6 or 5 people, up to 12. That's small.
Mm-hmm.
And last I heard, it's like they have only like 5 people. And during the pandemic, it works dried out. So I don't know if they're existing right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I haven't been out. Never been out like a few walks only just to buy food ever since this thing started. So
Well,
through calls, like messages, I
yeah,
have no idea.
you're in Manila, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
it's
tend to
pretty
keep
dense.
inside. I tend to keep inside more often, like 24 hours, 7 days a week
Yeah.
more. I'd rather be that way than be sorry later because like it costs 1 million pesos just to get cured in the hospital.
Oh,
So
really?
Yeah, I don't
What's
have that
the
money.
what's the vaccine situation there? Are they giving
They're
those out?
getting onto it, but with the new variant, it's like dangerous.
Hmm.
Everyone's like shaken a bit because there are three new cases here of the new variant, the faster
Oh
one,
well.
the deadlier one. Yeah, yeah, that's a sad thing. So we don't know how many are going to be infected later on. So we're just tightening up the security around here also at the same time in our compound.
Yeah.
So we have a compound here, a small compound. You have to go through only one gate, so it's monitored. There's disinfectants on the gate, and then we have that soaking your shoes in thingy. So
Oh
you
yeah.
don't bring in the virus with your shoes and everything, and then
Wow.
sprays and yeah. Although mostly Filipinos are clean by nature, it's like you just can't be sure if you have it on your shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
Can never be sure. So you have a mask, but the person at your back like sneeze or something, so you can never know.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think.
better to stay indoors and like I've been indoors for like a year, frankly. Like I've been out to buy food and steam the food or cook my own food like 30 minutes max stops. I don't
Yeah.
even exercise. I don't have
Oh wow.
I can't ride my bike anymore because last time I almost got that. One time I was working. The last time I worked for a studio was near here. Um, the director himself got infected, and the last person he was in close contact was me.
Oh wow.
Imagine that. So I was the most highly suspect person of all.
Yeah, but
And then
you didn't actually didn't get it right.
no, no, thank God. Thing is, after 2 weeks we had the test. I was negative.
Yeah. I started Tonari at the beginning of the pandemic, and then I've just been working digitally from my computer since then.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go out for groceries and that's about it. But I was also being irresponsible too, like going to friends' houses and parties and stuff.
No, 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 no. I
And
rarely do that.
yeah,
I really maybe for an emergency, but for like gimmicks for excuse me, parties? No, 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 no.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely no.
I should have gotten it. I don't know why I didn't, but I made it
No,
all the way
no.
to where I got
You shouldn't.
vaccinated. So
Yeah, because the parties like really attract people because they want to unwind,
yeah,
unstress and everything, but
yeah,
that's radically dangerous also at the
yeah.
same time.
But that's the culture here. That's why it
Yeah,
got
I
so
know,
bad
I know.
here really early because everyone was just like, screw this. I'm gonna go have a barbecue with my friends.
Yeah, yeah, the screw this thingy attitude is gonna get
And then in the
them like
meantime, people are getting piled
in
up in
bad
the
shape.
hospitals and stuff.
Yes. You should see
But
the pile up of dead in India. Like
oh
they just
wow,
chuck
yeah,
chuck and throw them away in stocks,
yeah, that's
in
crazy.
stacks. Yeah, I know.
But I think, at least for our industry, I think the
Hmm.
pandemic's going to be a benefit, just because it's opening the ability. It's making us have to change how we do everything.
True.
Because,
And also it made people more friendly,
mm-hmm,
more respectful of life and people and what they can do, and also at the same time, I think even the managers and owners, business owners have taken into account everything, and they're thinking maybe hopefully actually that they will change their actually it's pretty conservative here in the Philippines about business. So
mm-hmm,
I think with the pandemic, well, you have to like trust your artist to loan them the computer and everything if they don't have one.
yeah,
So it's up to that right now. It's up to that the level of trust you have to give. So that's the point that we need also at the same time trust.
yeah. I think a lot of people really like working from home too. So it's gonna be
Actually,
hard.
it
It's gonna be hard to get.
brings them closer to their families while working. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they can stay home with their family and their pets or whatever,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
eat lunch with them.
Mm-hmm. True. True.
Um, so it's gonna be hard to get
And
people
for
to go back into the office. So it's gonna be really, I think, the norm moving forward for people to be working remotely.
Yeah, and
And
also it keeps the womanizing animators away from the women and more to their wives.
yeah,
Well, it happens everywhere. It's everywhere. So any industry has it.
yeah. Um, anyways, I think uh, that's all that I really wanted to talk about. I mean, we can get into some of the dark side of the Filipino industry, but
Well,
um,
it depends on how much dark side it is. So
yeah. Well, there was one thing that I think, see, because it sounds like to me that overall the industry's been a good thing. Like it's been positive. Like you've made a career so far out of it, even though it's been unstable.
mm-hmm. True.
Um, but like it seems like all that really needs to happen is some sort of stability to
Mm-hmm.
happen.
True.
Some
Well,
studio that can actually not
uh,
crash every time
continue.
it there's some sort of
Yeah.
disaster.
Mm-hmm. Like we don't even have a local studio that produces local animation for us to have a backup uh, rally point.
Yeah, so
You get what I mean? So
you're just importing TV
import
shows.
export.
Yeah,
Yes, import export.
yeah, yeah. That's surprising. You'd think that the Philippines would have some sort of internal TV shows. I think a lot of countries are starting to like they're wanting to rely less on Japanese and Western productions for their media. I think they want
Well,
like
I think
some
Malaysia is stepping there.
like
Yeah,
a
stepping to that
Saudi
tempo.
Arabia is starting to make like their own animes.
Yes,
um,
actually yes.
I think a lot of countries are starting to kind of learn or come up with their own animation methods because you want your country to have like media that's culturally relevant, I guess, to like your
Same here.
people and your values and
Well, there were several attempts. There are several features and I think a TV series. I think, but most are features that went to movie box office. Well, notably like
mm,
Metanoia, RPG Metanoia by ABS-CBN, and then there's Dio by Cutting Edge, and then there's several others like Isco and Adarna, which was done by Octo Arts Films and directed by partly the other one was directed by Jerry Garcia Huli, and the other was partly directed by Jerry Garcia too.
mm.
So
This was a
uh,
Filipino production.
yes, yes, these are movies actually, which there's Wikipedia to reference about. And I think with Netflix they might recover the costing for everything because the point is people tend to be thinking about like Hollywood here when they're producing like okay, let's get this show on the road and produce it and finish it and show it on the movie stands.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no marketing to start it off. Is it going to make really money to earn its ROI in the immediate once it's showed on the first time? Or like in the Japanese industry, we have the comics industry to test it out, right?
Yeah.
So only the good stories get pumped up into animation. Here, here the problem is we don't have a comics industry that prospective movie producers, local producers could use to test original content if it's gonna sell on the market for a movie. So we lost that like lost that like let's say like almost 20 years ago, 15,
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago. So there's no local comics industry, and if there was, it's just a few scattered makers with no publishers, but
Well,
self-publishing types. So it's self-published creators, but there's no publishing houses that could like uh, attract the bigger clientele producers of movies and TV
so
series live action
so would you say
here in the
that like
Philippines.
the anime and manga, I guess, would that be like the fans? Would the fans of anime and manga be kind of a really small subculture there, or is it like widely popular?
Manga here is very popular actually. It's overtaken even the local comics, sad to say,
Oh,
but
really?
we're we're also there's also a big support for local comics lately, and there's a guy who's spearheading a new front for this one, and he's building comics also at the same time and several fronts. And then there's this individual ones with good uh, sounding stuff, like if you know 13, comic locally published comic that made to Netflix. Trese 13.
Hmm.
So it's a locally made comics that made anime. Actually, it's an anime comic locally made that attracted Netflix to be produced.
Oh, really?
So
So they're making a
yes,
show out of it?
yes,
Oh,
they're out for 2 episodes now. I think from the last info that I know, they finished 2 episodes already. So I think it's airing on Netflix.
okay.
But the other contents, there are so many hopefuls, like everyone wants to be a producer, everyone wants to be a director, everyone wants to get how much the bigger guys get as money also at the same time. But if push comes to shove, the work that you have to do and the effort you have to throw in would be like Herculean.
Mm-hmm.
So like me, when I started my own original content movie Starfall, I was just like getting 100 peso allowance from my partner. Yeah,
Wow.
100 peso allowance for fare, and she provided food until I finished it in the 2 months. The first, the first treatment for the movie. This was totally unknown for everyone, also in the local.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go that far down just to make your dream come true.
Yeah.
And then if you have the guts to make the dream for the others to go up also with your dream, you have to plan out for them also at the same time. So it's like really hard, really hard. It's good,
Yeah.
it's fun, but it's for the normal guys. It would be like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
You have to
Even
have that discipline, that sheer discipline
even
do it every
Studio
day.
Ghibli, I kind of think was set up with that motivation to
Yeah,
try to build a
yeah.
studio that creates directors or like creates
Mm-hmm.
new filmmakers. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of who all came. I know Hideaki Anno came out of there, but he didn't
Yeah,
stay at Ghibli.
yeah. He was one of those freelance guys that was hired regularly, but uh, went out early, I think.
Yeah. But aside from that, I don't think there's been any like really big directors that came out of there. It's just been the
There
same.
was the one who directed the Graveyard of the Fireflies who died.
Well, Isao Takahata, yeah, but he's like one of the
Yes,
originals. So
yes.
it was
So
Miyazaki
yeah.
and him.
Well, I heard his son was like part directing also at the same time. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
Miyazaki's son.
mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. I think it was like a just an idea that Toshio Suzuki had to like
Mm-hmm.
just put the Miyazaki name on more movies.
Yeah. So like so far, I tend to gravitate to macros, mechanical thingy, and at the same time Ghibli. It's just that wide for me. And
Mm-hmm.
also, if you remember Millennium Actress by Satoshi Kon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite directors too, Satoshi. He
Yeah,
pinned
his stuff
down
blows
the
my mind.
yeah, really good. It's like
Um,
groundbreaking also at the same time.
on Macross, there's something interesting about that. The U.S. has missed out on almost all of the Macross that's came out since the late or since the 90s because there's a company here that owns the license for everything Macross,
Mm-hmm.
and they've refused to release anything.
Big West.
Yeah.
Big West, I think, because that's a toy manufacturer legally authorized to sell macros things also. Why? What's the big deal? Big deal.
Yeah. I I really think like a lot of the problems with
Oh,
the
I
anime
like I
industry could
like
be
I like Macros Frontier. Really
Macross
nice.
Frontier. I don't know if it. See,
Yeah.
I haven't even seen like.
And also Macros Zero. And also there's this other Macros. One is a TV series, the other is a OVA. The two are OVAs. Original video animations. Really nice films. But still, the love triangle's there and everything, but it's a different story all the time. But it's still there. Magic is still there.
Um. So Christensen thinks we should go into some of the touchier subjects of the Filipino industry. So
Okay,
there,
what
there's
part?
there's the one like where you mentioned. I remember you telling me about this, and this is like something that's a bit crazy, which was the I think you called them like pump and dump studios, where they would set up.
What?
Was that what you called them?
Oh, the hit and run
Hit
ones.
and run. Yeah. The
Yeah.
so what was
Way
that?
back, way back, like several, just almost like a decades back. There were like by night studios operating and would give out work and not pay people because they didn't get the salary and everything. Well, I was jinxed for 50,000 bucks also for a storyboard. It's
Wow.
happened to me. Yeah,
So
basically, you don't know who's lying, either the one you're talking to in the Filipino side or the overseas guy.
so were
So you
these
just have to stay silent because you have to have that benefit of the doubt. Otherwise, you get enemies.
yeah. Yeah, so what do you think
So
what was the reason for those studio like did you ever figure out why they did that?
well, sometimes it's the retakes. It goes so overboard that you can't get the people to work on them
Mm,
over and over and over again because
yeah.
they've already
So
spent the
like the
money or
client's kind of unhappy with it and
yeah.
then they're like,
And on
"Okay,
the
we're just
next run
closing
they
it
cut
down."
your pay. Yeah, something like that. They cut your pay on the next run because you haven't released this much back to us, something like that. So it's a vicious system.
Yeah.
So there are many studios that closed down and sometimes they subcontracted from bigger studios and the bigger studios got threatened also at the same time. So I can't blame the bigger studios for not supporting smaller studios right now because they had their experience before. But come on, not all people are the same. So
Yeah.
maybe judge when it happens and choose another guy or choose another studio. But right now, there's only bigger studios and training centers here. The medium ones are like so few, and there are no small ones.
Mhm.
Uh, there's practically no small studios existing, and if there were, I hope they're registered
Yeah, it seems
and
like
paying normally also at the same time.
we've talked about this a little bit, but to me it seems like a really obvious move to just set up a Tonari branch in the Philippines
Mm-hmm.
cuz I think there's a lot of people there that want to
But they would,
work on anime.
yeah, they would, but they have to reset their mind scales a bit or their mindsets because Japanese animation is very, very vastly different from Western animation.
Mm.
First, you have to draw good. You have to understand the skill set for drawing must be high. Second, you have to have the patience. And
Yeah.
then third, you have to learn the ropes of the software and the notations and everything. And all falls into place.
Yeah. We had a training program that one of our it was actually George uh helped develop it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a 3 months quick training for Doga.
Ours
Um,
is 2 months only.
2 months. Oh wow.
Yeah, 2 months only for us.
Yeah,
That's what
and
the government gave us as a deadline, so we had to squash everything together. But that's
mm-hmm.
quality training. But they
Yeah,
experience
and
the deadline through the submissions. So this is how the deadlines are with your submission, something like that. You have to
in
nail everything down tomorrow, something like that.
in Japanese studios, I think it takes about 6 months because they're really
Actually, when I
trying very
started,
hard to make sure they have a really high quality.
that's the true traditional training. Because when I started in my first studio, Tokyo Animated Productions, I was trained for 6 months, clean up IB. That's the
Oh
real
yeah,
traditional training. Yes. You have to go through all the exercises first, then the line polishing drawing, like tracing over the drawings over and over for five
yeah,
pages
yeah.
and make sure they don't move, something like that. And then the gose, everything, separations, X sheet, change levels and everything, conversions, and then special like special effects, special notations, director's camera work, what to do with this pan and everything.
Where does your
Is this sync with the cell or not?
where was your training for Doga at
Tokyo Animated Productions before.
Toku
That's Tokyo Animated Productions.
Tokuin?
Uh, Tokyo Animated
Oh, Tokyo
Productions.
Animated Productions.
Yes. TAP. TAP. So we started there. I had seniors who were very helpful also at the same time. So it's like, wow. I was all gaga over Japanese animations. Like, wow. It was like magic to me then. Until
Mm-hmm.
now. Until now. I never lost the kid side. Well,
Yeah,
most people's problems also is about the kid side. Like the responsibilities about parenthood and everything. When they're in animation, they kind of lost it. So it's
yeah,
like menial work only to them. So some are like that, but not all. Some have it, some have a bit, and then some don't have it. So like they're like looking in the distance, like a Warshak guy or a girl, like
yeah.
empty.
I think
You get that
after someone
empty look.
spends enough time doing the same thing, they start to question whether or not it's what they really like or want to do. But I think what you're saying is right though. Like you have to
Yes,
hold
you
on to
have the
that
kid
like
side.
kid side to keep
Yeah,
hang on to the
yeah.
inspiration and all that.
Because unless you don't have that kid side, you can't get through it each and every day with what you're doing if it's not fun.
Yeah,
So it'll be just like work. And my gosh, of all the people, like 100% of people, like of all the 100% people, only like 2% find their dream jobs,
yeah,
which is true for statistics. And my dream job is animation, so
yeah, yeah.
highly
Same.
content.
Yeah, me too.
So so I'm in this. I get this any which way I can. I work. So if I lose my tears or overspilled milk when I'm not paid, bottom line is I get the experience to vouch for it later. So oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Do you have any like long term goals with animation, or do you,
Oh,
like big dreams within animation
oh
aside from
yes,
just
yes. Yes, actually, I just built several original contents that I have. So we're naming a few, like Starfall and The Boy Forgot Christmas. All are grand experiments on how to approach marketing stuff
Mm-hmm.
to to tailor it to like The Boy Forgot Christmas. Let's say about this one. It's a regular recurring season. So with this TV series, you can re-air it every time you want. Every time the network wants, or every time the cable wants, or every time the internet guy wants, or you want actually.
Mm.
So bottom line is that's the seasonal market entry side, and then we have like Breakwater Time Riff, which is Philadelphia Experiment story rehashed and revamped and much more better, and it's catered to uh, well, let's say servicemen around the world, depending around which denomination they are and their families. So it's like a military type movie. So it's
Okay.
about courage and everything. So and then Starfall is a sci-fi. Uh, it was partly not Macross, but had a hint of it. Inspirational singing and everything. So
So
that was a
what are the barriers
yes.
to getting those things into like
Oh
completed production? It's always this money, right?
yes, it all boils down to money.
Yeah.
So like I told others before, like my partner, it's like we need this much to get this and this and this. She says, I don't have that much. We only have this much.
Yeah.
So you have to devise a plan. So from my 2010 escapade out of the industry, I disappeared from the industry for since 2010 and just resurfaced just for one studio where I was almost got hit by the pandemic, and
Mm-hmm.
since then we were investigating the flaws inside the system, why studios weren't self-sufficient, why did they close down, what are the missing other pieces of the puzzle, like the business establishments that were supposed to be here,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the viable physical business plan that would make the industry self-sustainable.
Yeah.
creepy enough Creepy enough, I started on a document, and weirdly enough, I watched World War Z, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
zombie
the zombie
thing.
movie. Yeah.
I heard a statement there about the 10th man. So ideally, when I replay that over and over again, the 10th man searches. uh there are 10 men inside a room. These are judges. So if the nine others agree for one thing, the job of the 10th man is to search otherwise, exhaust all possible resources to end up with another answer for the
Mm.
nine. Okay, so in this case, that's what is the thing that I did for the industry. The nine is the industry. The nine men is the industry. They're
Mm-hmm.
telling me one thing. Okay, so I had to look the other way and search for other clues around to say otherwise that it's not true.
Yeah.
We can be self-sustainable.
Yeah, I
How?
think so too.
So first thing is missing is royalties.
Yeah.
There are no royalties in the animation, but there is in the live action and music industry local.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we missing this?
Yeah.
Because there's no
Yeah.
credits. And then uh the industry is outsourced import. We don't hold any co-production, what do you call this, clout, or a name clout. to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
have our share of the major merchandise and everything.
Yeah.
So it's like a dead end
Yeah.
for royalties there.
Yeah. I think
But
the I almost feel like the studios have been kind of cornered by the entertainment industry because uh
yes,
they
true.
they
Even
they're
the
desperate
owners
to
are,
keep their doors open, so they're just
excuse
gonna
me,
take job after job.
even the studios are a bit feeling the pain in the pocket because of the software price. The major studios are feeling the brunt because how much is one software right now? It's like wow, I can't name the price here, but it's really skyrocketing. And then to match that, you have staff to pay, you have the overhead, rent to pay,
Yeah.
electricity bills, the air cons, and everything. And if you were like 1,000 square foot studio, which is one right now here, we have like at least two or three.
Mm-hmm.
How much would that cost, right? Like 1,000 to
Yeah.
2,000 square meter studios with
Square
all the
feet.
staff,
Yeah.
hundreds of, yeah, yeah,
Or
square feet.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's big, it's big.
Yeah, so
So
the studio's incentive is just to get more jobs and not to like none
mm-hmm,
of them have
mm-hmm.
savings, so they can't just
Yes. So we invented a way through a small deduction to have that savings for each studio, that it creates a P2P, paper to paper currency that will pay off the studio of what it earned for the show in several years.
mm,
Okay? So if I were to deduct 1 peso or 5 pesos per piece for every artist out from my own profit, right? If you get what I mean. I'm
yeah,
I'm paying the artist 29 pesos, but I got a filthy profit of 150, something like that. For example only. For example only. It's not uh it's like let's say guess.
yeah,
So
yeah,
let's say we have 150 profit on myself. I have the overhead, costing and everything, staff and everything. And I still have my 25 bucks for profit as a
yeah,
businessman. I could shell out the 5 pesos for the P2P for every piece that the big studios churned out. And how much would that be? And then if I enrolled it in a certain way of monetary certificates that could make it earn more inside the monetary system. So 5 or 7 years appreciation value of that 5 pesos lumped into a whole. That show I earn money from will earn again money here.
yeah, yeah.
So
Like getting capital gains for
yes,
like the
true.
investment bonds or
Yeah, the slow side,
yeah,
but you still get a fair share of investment portfolios that you could also vouch for banks.
mm,
So you can get more investment because you can pay them in 5 years' time, plus the interest or anything, whatever. And it's computed versus what you can borrow, right? So instead of like, well, here the banks are also a bit conservative because all they can get is like assets materials, is like houses, cars, something that sells fast.
yeah,
So mortgage houses like that. So if you have P2P or bonds that are really cash actually, but sitting there for 5 years, they would accept that.
yeah,
So it hasn't happened here. I gave out actually the seed ideas in a meeting 5 years ago, and if they followed that right now, next year actually, they should have been rich.
yeah. We know the
So
money's out.
so
We know the money's out there. It's just not
no
going to
no
the
no no
studios.
no. I gave them the formula for it already
Mm,
free because I believe in them as
yeah,
a team
yeah,
that they can do it too. So the problem is if they did it after I handed out the papers, because I was monitoring all their activity and everything and all that. And I don't know if they did it or just hang tight and said nothing about it. But there should be massive more hires this year and next year because
Mm-hmm.
I'm counting the years since I doled out those papers.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be more massive hires this year and next year.
Okay. And
So if that
that's at some of
happens,
the smaller studios and
actually both
okay.
major and minor. So to be fair, I handed them out. It's up to them to use it. Me, we were just waiting for work to come in. Like as you came later,
Yeah.
so we can also start it, thinking like that.
Yeah.
So both of us can be self-sustainable later.
Yeah.
Thing is, it's
The kind of plan with Tonari is we're going to continue just like right now we're in this kind of reputation stage, so we're just building up a
mm-hmm,
reputation, doing subcontracting work, increasing the
mm-hmm,
skill of our animators and all that. And then we'll eventually get to the point where we'll
yes,
get original jobs, and then we could say, hey, is
yes,
there a way to work out some sort of royalties for the animator? Like
mm-hmm,
it should be for the animators too.
mm-hmm,
Like the studio gets a portion, and then the animators who
mm-hmm,
worked on it get a portion. Uh,
yes.
the figuring out the portions the animators gets gonna be like a difficult formula, but
It's
um,
all there. I already gave it to you,
oh
so
yeah, I need to
yeah,
read through it.
yeah. You just need your accountant to just do the numbers. It's all there,
Yeah,
all there. Per department, that's still in 2D. It doesn't have Nintendo. Sorry,
yeah,
it's Western.
yeah.
But you
Well,
can recalibrate the numbers for first key, second key, and layout and everything.
yeah.
So
Luckily, anime fans are really passionate, and the story of everyone getting kind of underpaid and studios struggling to keep their doors open is kind of
yeah,
becoming a mainstream
true.
story. So that's gonna help a
Yeah,
lot.
everywhere. Yeah, like
Um,
we need stability, but we need like self sustainability.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
because even if we increase the pay, it still wouldn't help if studios are still not
mm,
self sustainable.
yes, true. It will just like siphon up the money and everything, and not bring back whatever was used up.
Yeah, and it
So
also
with this,
gives if the studios are self sustainable, it also gives them power in negotiating with the networks or whoever
actually,
publishers.
it gives them independent power. They can do anything. That's
Yeah,
the bottom part. They can do
yeah, they
anything
can just make their own
because
stuff.
they have their own. Yes, they have
Yeah,
their own money. They don't need anyone. They can produce.
yep.
That's
Which
the
is
main
what
point.
which
So
is like Ghibli does that. Um,
yes,
I don't. Is there any
but
other
I
independent studios?
wonder if they're no, I wonder if they're also self-sustainable or
I think they
also
definitely are because they've got a huge merchandising network.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Like
it could.
they develop their own stuffed animals or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the
So that's the
Totoros
next thing.
everywhere.
That's the next thing. We need the comics industry revamped here locally,
Well, like
turbocharged, revamped, and operating here, and then a
mm-hmm.
merchandise like
The
local
merchandise
merchants.
model is what Disney Animation did to
Yeah,
keep making new
legacies,
movies.
legacies. Even Spielberg and Lucas pioneered it, creating legacies, and everyone's copying that.
Mm.
So they're the first ones that created the legacy type of earning platform that made them self-sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, they rarely borrow money, but they just produce after several years.
Yeah, they're just using profits
So
from merchandise.
yes, yes, and then winding it up with capital portfolios.
All right.
It's like that.
So we've been going for about an hour 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I know you're tired.
Oh,
I think we'll move into Q&A with the viewers. So
okay.
we'll probably spend like 15-20 minutes answering questions with you
Mhm.
guys. Hopefully this
Okay.
was an interesting topic. It's something that uh, I think doesn't get talked about at all. Like just
Pretty much. Yeah.
the Filipino industry and
Yeah.
um, The fact that there's
Not
like
so
all these
many.
studios there that have
No.
existed and history barely knows that they existed.
Yeah.
So
Well, before during Phil Curtin's time, it was famous, but later it subsided, and then it's picking up now. Right now with us.
yeah.
Sorry. So, what are the questions though?
uh, well, gotta see if anyone's typing one up. Um, while we wait though, I think I can probably come up with some questions here. Um, I could ask some like fun facts about the Philippines. So if the Philippines is like an archipelago, it's a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of islands.
Different islands.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do people own cars there, or does
Yes.
everyone just? So you just gonna you'd have to get on a ferry though to get around, right?
We have jeepneys, jeeps, and then tricycles also at the same time. These are second-rate commodities to ride onto. Taxis, first rate, and then you have the private cars.
Yeah, but if you wanted to drive like uh from Manila to a city on another island, you'd have to take a bunch of different boats.
Yeah, you have. Yes, true. Yes, that would take days.
Are there people that commute over with boats? Like if you work
Yes,
on somewhere that's like an island away.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But it would be better with a plane.
Oh really? Like a
Yeah,
small
plane
plane.
ride. Yeah. No, I mean, there's local plane here. They call this air transport
Hmm. So people would like come go to work from a plane.
airlines. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um.
for us here, it's like no, we can't afford a plane except for vacation, saving
Yeah.
up for it. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same here, pretty much.
hmm.
So question from Stell, for both of us. Can you speak about any valuable mentorship experiences that you had?
Oh, locally
Just
or
like
internationally?
just in the industry, I guess. So like maybe when you're first getting started, if there was
Well,
like any.
I couldn't forget my first Japanese trainer. He was a cleanup IB. He worked in Akira,
Oh wow.
and he worked with Studio Ghibli also at the same time. He worked in what was that World War II story? Two kids. Iso
Oh,
Takahata's
Grave
work.
of the Fireflies.
Yes, he worked there. He was cleanup in IB. Mr. Harada-san.
So he was
Harada-sama.
helping teach your original training.
He was a checker, head checker. He was also at the same time trainer, along with the mentorships with the Filipino head. So that was our small group. We were like 12 then, 12 cleanup and in between. There were two layouts, but they dropped back to in between checking during those times.
For me, I don't know if I've had like I guess the closest to a mentor that I had was Will. He was like an early like back when we were first starting striving for animation. I learned pretty much everything that I needed to know to get started from him. Especially making the first video series on here. Uh, he was kind of the one to teach me all that stuff. But once I had all that,
Mm-hmm.
then it was kind of self teaching. And then
Mm-hmm.
I kind of I think for anime, like once you know what you need to learn, then it's possible. But learning, figuring out what you need to know
Mm-hmm.
is the hard part. I think if you don't have like a studio to get into,
Yeah, like by yourself. Yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty hard with anime. No, no, no.
yeah, that's it's very
It's really hard.
technical.
Actually, with Adarna, that was my first directorial debut for a short, animated short. My mentor there also was Rogelio Binalla, Direct Rogelio Binalla, who taught me how to do storyboards. That was my first time to do storyboards. And then the next thing was timing the storyboards, and then checking. And then Danny Binalya, his brother, was a cameraman, chief cameraman. He taught me how to shoot and supervise. And then we went to the Moviola. That's a manual cutter for film. When you roll two wheels, it will emit the sound, and you have to sync the sound with the action and everything. So we supervised that. He directed the main film, Rogelio Binalya. So he was technically the first Filipino animation director that did a movie here in the Philippines.
Oh wow.
And then Danilo Binalya was the first director of photography in the Philippines by history.
Mm.
And then and then me, I was just in the middle. I graduated from both of them for a short, animated short that was included in the film also at the same time, which was a musical, though a rock band sang for it. So it was a very, very great experience, but uh, had to go back to anime again later.
Mm.
And I'm still working with them, though not in the work per se, but they are collaborators with what I have as original content also because we started there. So they're somewhat as partners. So they've been close friends, and we shared a lot of experiences together.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah,
Um,
but
we're starting to get some more
uh,
questions piling up here.
wow, wow,
Um,
okay.
so Al Bondad's asking, does the Filipino animation community have a strong internet presence in the country? I'm always trying to find accounts to follow. I think
Oh yes, actually
I
yes, it's
think
public.
well, I think they might be asking about people who have social media that are
Oh,
animators.
everyone uses, yes, everyone locally uses as social media in Messenger, Facebook.
I think
They normally use Facebook,
isn't I
Twitter.
think Verkreek might be Filipino.
Who?
Verkreek, he's like a one of the
Uh,
kind of the popular animators.
mm,
I
okay.
thought he might be there. Um, I don't know of any other big like Filipino accounts, but I'd say everyone probably has one. It's just
Mm,
their accounts haven't blown up yet.
yeah. Well, mostly the Filipinos here use Facebook. For the upper classes, Filipinos, they use Twitter and also LinkedIn for the business guys. And the other app was like well, mostly carousel for selling and buying.
Hmm.
That's most of it. So that
Uh,
was OLX before, pretty
she
much like your eBay.
so they're selling art on there or something.
Depends. I saw some animation art there before, like books and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and collectibles also like statues and everything. But those are the rare ones.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get them off the stores that easy.
Yeah.
Before
Uh,
I had a sale for Studio Ghibli given before I lost it somewhere. One Nausicaa and one Lapita. They used a bigger field paper than the normal Japanese paper. It was bigger than the 9 field they're using
hmm.
before. So it's wider and bigger. Much like a smaller A3. Almost like a smaller A3 size. Not big as A3, but
Yeah.
smaller than that a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of wish that I got to do paper animation, but like I did a little bit in college because we were just
Mm-hmm.
learning for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like drawing on paper. Like I feel like I could draw better on paper.
The problem with paper is when it's rainy season, it gets
It
damp.
gets damp.
You
Yeah.
can't draw, and if you're really rushing up for the deadline, it gets what do you call this torn with a pencil.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a heater on or something or whatever
Oh
just
well.
in front of you. Just, yeah. It
Um,
gets so damp. Even the color pencil doesn't mix in with the colors you draw on. So it's really hard sometimes in the rainy season here. And
I'm
submission of folders, you have to protect them from being wet and everything.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think ideally you'd have the paper stored somewhere where it could stay dry, but because you have to transport it outside, it's you can get wet.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
I'm gonna go on to the next questions here. This one I'll answer probably pretty quickly, so we can try to get to some others. Shina was asking how to get started on the anime industry on Twitter. Uh, Really, all you need to do is have good work posted to your Twitter, and then just have your
Mm-hmm.
bio say that you're. You can say it in English and Japanese that you're a freelance animator looking for work, and that'll usually get you a message. You don't even have to have a big Twitter following. I got my first offer on Twitter when I only had like a few hundred followers. So, um, Chila Quiles is asking, do you have any hopes or dreams for the future of animation or animators in the Philippines? And any encouraging words for Filipinos?
Oh, there are huge dreams. Bottom point is we have to get several things started first. It'll occur later, definitely. But the problem is we need to start now on some things.
Mm-hmm.
For the self sustainability first. So we can move there.
Yeah,
Once
I
we don't
think.
have that, everything is topsy turvy. It won't stop.
What about the second part of that question? Any encouraging words for Filipinos?
Well, don't let go of your dreams. If you think it's good, just like what Stanley said, and there are a couple of stupid guys trying to pull you down out of it, just do it. That's his most famous saying, and that's one of my favorites. Like if there are people are so sometimes there are people who are want to pull you down because they're jealous that you're getting up. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. But you feel deep inside instinctively that it's right.
Mm-hmm.
So unless it's not breaking the law in the Philippines or or some stupid thing that might get you into trouble or make you dead later, try
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
If it's animation only, why not?
Yeah.
So live your dreams, make them a reality. So that's what there are two people in the world, Jared. Uh, responders and onlookers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm the responder. I just don't look. I'm not a bystander. I'm a responder. So there are two mindsets basically. You look and you just go there and do nothing because you don't think that you can do it, but you're a responder mode. You can do it
Mm-hmm.
because things are clicking into place. I think I can find the answer to that on this internet channel here, and the other answer to that on this internet channel here,
Yeah.
so on and so forth, so on and so forth, until you have the big picture. And then all is solved, and you can start. So no one's going to dish out the whole pie for you, but you have to find them yourself. And that's the good thing about it. It's like when you're rewarded with what you find, then you will believe in yourself more and more, and you'll get more confident. So for dreams, if you're just dreaming 50%, maybe dream about 1000%.
Yeah.
So so if you reach 500%, that's way above your 50% that you started with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I tell my trainees before. If you're going to dream big, dream the biggest thing you dream. And if you end up winding on the half of it, you're way past from the present dream that you were thinking a while back.
Yeah.
So better do that and stay on the half and just be here. On the downside, you achieved it, but what, right?
Yeah. I'm
So
I'm in the same mindset. Definitely shooting
yeah,
for the highest goal you could possibly
bigger.
achieve.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, most people, well, not all people are like that, and some people did and tried and got defeated and went through old age and got bitter also at the same time. So those are the ones that might be the ones pulling the others down also. So don't mind them. They tried, but it didn't work for them. So just give them help later on when you're up there.
Mm-hmm. Um,
So
so
something like that.
this next question is going to be our last question, but I'm going to combine two
Mm.
of the questions here. So Shani is
Mm.
asking, how's the salary an animator in Japan versus outsourced animators differ? And then we can add this Christensen's question. He's asking about the cost of living comparison.
Oh, okay. With Shanu's question, I think the difference is in the Philippines. If you were to work with Japan, it's more better because it will be technically higher than normal wage, just a bit higher, not as high as the West. But if you are in Japan, Japan lifestyle will eat you
Mm-hmm.
alive
It's too
and
expensive.
skin you a bit.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. The food, everything, transportation is too expensive. Like for here, uh, you get a fare for a jeep for like I don't know right now, but last time it's like 12 pesos, and
Mm-hmm.
that's like from here. I can't describe. What's your nearest like several miles, like 5 miles, I think, or 10
Mm-hmm.
or 12 pesos, I think. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit cheap. Actually, it's cheap. But right now with the virus, I'm not risking anything. Not even going out to the malls. No, 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 not now.
Yeah.
But
Here.
the taxi is cheaper also at the same time. It's affordable.
Yeah. Here for in Austin, Texas, for an Uber, someone was
Mm-hmm.
telling me that they're spending about 80 US dollars for one ride for
Wow.
20 minutes, which would
How
be
much is that?
in PH peso.
$80.
It'd be 4,000 pesos.
Wow. That's way up. You could be in the province for 4,000 pesos already. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, here 4,000 pesos you could be in the province already. The bus fare would be like 750 last time I checked for Olongapo, which is like several hundred miles away.
Yeah. So I guess
Hmm.
the moral of the story is if you want to work in anime and you don't want to starve to death, you could live in the Philippines.
Yes, but technically the animators there were bred to last, like draw this much and that much, but not all. But they maybe have passive income and secondary income helping them also at the same
Mm-hmm.
time,
Yeah.
but not all, not all. So technically, if you were to live in the Philippines or work for Japan, it's a win-win situation. But if you're in Japan and working for them, uh,
Probably bad. Yeah. Same thing with being in the
yeah,
U.S.
unless
Unless.
you're a 100 footer animator or like a taksan cut animator
Yeah.
like layout.
All right. Anyways, I think that was a fun conversation. Thanks everyone
Yeah.
for watching. Um, and
Thanks everyone. Thanks every fan.
we
Don't forget Jared always. He supports everyone.
Thanks. So we do the podcast every week. So on Mondays. Next week, uh, let's see who's next week. Next week, the guest is Ilya Kushvinov. He's coming back,
Oh,
so that will be fun. I did a
okay.
podcast once with them last year,
Mm-hmm.
so make sure you guys come to that one next week. Anyways, see you guys.